everybody, and welcome to episode 22 of Just One More Podcast. It is December 12th, 2022. Christmas is right around the corner. I am Jeff from Just One More Level, and of course, as always, we have John from MyBrainOnGames.com. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing fine, better than I have this past week, where I was sick with strep throat.
Always fun.
Yeah, just dealing with the congestion and lots of snot now.
Which has it's just so. I think I was telling you that I've been dealing with this weird congestion since like August, since the COVID times, and my significant other is pretty much. I think we're both on board with it probably being the symptoms and stuff of long COVID. So, but
yeah, mine was just brought on by doing some outside work and not being prepared for it, so not having the proper attire. I think I got a head cold, and then that just morphed into this. And then, yeah, my significant other, she had COVID. Dealing with that. Thankfully, a little one seemed to dodge both sicknesses. Just kept trucking right along.
So, with the last week, I had a lot of stuff going on the personal side that didn't really allow me to do a whole lot of gaming. Luckily, I did get a pretty good amount of time into Star Ocean Divine Force yesterday, which would be Sunday. However, I reached a point in the story that I was like, oh, well, it's saying that if I have any loose ends, I should tie them up before continuing on. So story-wise, I don't think I got too much farther than where we were at in the last episode, but I did play a lot, got a bunch of side quests cleared up, which ultimately led to having to do a good portion of crafting, which, my god, I don't like the crafting system in Star Ocean. There's not much rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, it's just all random.
Yeah, and I don't like it, especially since some of the side quests are now requiring items that can only be found through crafting. But yeah, like I've
not quite made it there in my side quest log.
Well, if you come across any side quests for things like the I think it's Tears of Aphrodite, that, and there's another, which coincidentally, the Tears of Aphrodite, and then there's another, I can't remember it. One makes people like you, and then there's another concoction that makes people not like you, and I have a suspicion that it probably has something to do, like you could use those potentially for like the private actions or the behind the scenes relationship stuff with the characters for the various endings.
Yeah, I know. I think I mentioned last episode where I was, no need to stress about those private actions because there was an item where you could just give it to someone and basically max out the relationship. So maybe that is the item.
So as far as story goes, I think it's safe to say that you are ahead of me as far as story goes. So I think because you are no longer just stuck on Aster Fort, right?
Correct. Yeah, I think I've got like one or two more story achievements than you do. I've got two more story achievements than you do. And I think I just looked. It looks like I only have like 3 left until the end of the game. 2 to 3, depending on how they unlock.
So I believe in the last episode we finished off, we talked about Marielle joining the party.
Yeah.
Lieutenant of the ship that ultimately shot down Ray's ship, which at the beginning of the game. And then I've got a bunch of different like notes and stuff, a lot of them kind of pertain to private actions that I came across and finishing up side quests. Like I completed the Welch sub story side quest thing.
Now,
so I have it.
Where I left it off with her, unlocked all of the crafting menus, and then she hinted at like maybe there's something she's looking for, her other diamond or the matching ring. Maybe it's over in Vale. Did you find that? Did you complete that?
So from what I've come across, that has not come back up.
Okay. Yeah, because there wasn't like a quest that opened up whenever she mentioned that. That was just like in the dialogue, in her conversation.
Yeah, which, this isn't a high budget game, but I found it a little humorous that when she like extends her hand and is like, I'm trying to find the pair to this. And you just see the palm of her hand. There's nothing in her hand when she extends her hand out. So at first when she's explaining, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing in your hand, so I don't know what the pair is going to be to whatever you're supposedly showing me. But then, yeah, she ends up mentioning that there's a ring that she's trying to I guess try to buy back or find or something that her family lost in some way.
I think her grandpa sold.
And so it's but yeah, I just kind of found that a little humorous because she was like, I'm trying to find the pair to this, and then it's just the palm of her hand, and I'm like, I don't know what a ring. Okay, you're talking about a ring. Okay, that's not in your hand. So but low budget or lower budget, but so yeah, I wrapped up pretty much all that, got access to synthesis. I haven't done anything with synthesis as far as the other side quests. Pretty much everything else has been some form of like compounding or authoring or I think I had to do a couple smithing items. That was pretty much it. I also found out that I had a lot, and I don't know if it's because I don't know if I just didn't go back to Kato, but after starting the game back up, I was just kind of going, since I was doing all these side quests, I was just traveling everywhere trying to see what I could wrap up. And when I got to Kato, I had a ton of private actions that I either missed or maybe they activated or I have no idea.
I think there's just a lot that activated at one point, because I seem to remember that being the same situation for me. Basically spent like half an hour in Kato alone just doing private actions.
And yeah, so like I was kind of trying to jot down as many little tiny tidbits of the notes and stuff as I could as far as those private actions. But then I was like, there's just too many. Like this is filling up too much space. But yeah, like came across like one private action about Albaird. Just kind of curious about how Ray is not from, he's not a soldier. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience as a soldier, but he seemed to have picked up a sword pretty quickly. And Raymond just kind of talked about how his dad
wanted to make sure they were prepared for anything.
Yeah, like the your body is I can't remember what the phrase was, but essentially, just how important it is to protect your body. And then came across Malkia struggling to sleep. I gave the option, like, because she asks, do you have any ideas or pointers or anything to help me fall asleep? And I was like, well, you could try to be more active. That might wear you out a little bit more. That's the one I picked. And she didn't really seem to like that answer.
No, she was not enthused.
Yeah. She was like, that would tire me out, but I don't think that would help me sleep. I was like, well, I mean, if you are more active, your body will get more tired, which, I would imagine, by proxy would help you go to sleep. And then Chloe crushing on Antonio. How Chloe could potentially be Ray's sister-in-law if things went the way that Chloe is hoping with Antonio. Elena kind of makes a not quite a joke, but references the fact that Chloe could become family to Ray. So that was kind of course there was a bunch of other private actions and stuff, but like I said, it started getting to the point I was like, I'm not gonna jot all these down.
Right.
So let's see.
Well, as far as progressing the story, it's time we finally head to Vale.
Yeah, finally making our way to the Vale Empire, taking the fight to them.
Yeah, and everybody seems to think, like, okay, this is going to be, this is basically the last day of the war. It's all going to end right here.
Yeah, I mean, the war just started, but yep, tomorrow is the last day.
And then it does.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it is a very, I mean, I don't know exactly how long. I mean, I guess, what was it? I can't remember when the hostilities really started between the kingdom and the empire, but like
the sour relationship was like 14 years, something like that.
And then the war was just pretty much over within a couple of days. Like there was all this buildup, all this like hostility for 14 years, and then after about less than a week, well, it's time to wrap it up. But yeah, taking the fight to the Vale Empire, pretty much marching down to the Baldar, which I can't remember. I think there was a lot of fights in Baldar, but I don't think anything necessarily important happened. I don't think.
I don't know if there were any fights. I don't have anything like that in my notes. I think didn't they basically just reclaim it at the wedding?
Oh yeah, I guess so. Because I remember I couldn't fast travel back to Baldar after the wedding, but yeah, I think getting there, I think Ray does make a comment about how not having to sneak around this time around.
Yeah, and the folks here, they just wanted to live in peace,
Yeah. Which one thing that is a little surprising, and I don't know if it opens up a little bit more after progressing through the supposed we may not come back to this planet situation, but I feel like there's so much of the Vale Empire that doesn't get to be explored.
Yeah, that gets dealt with in a pretty funny way.
Okay, well, it's like
because I've had the same thoughts. Like, the game. I don't know. It may have been last episode when we were talking about it. I was like, the game could be wrapping up in like the next 5 or so hours, and I look at the map and there's just like a ton of the Vale Empire that theoretically we could explore and check out. That gets handled in a pretty funny way. Well, I'll be interested for you to see that too.
Well, I'm looking forward to it because essentially, once we get through Baldar, you've got the Vale, I think Vale region, which is
Vale
south
region.
south of Baldar.
Sandy,
and then,
desert-like environment, big rock outcroppings, kind of some oceanside views, and then bam, you're in Vale.
Yeah, and then here's the capital. Which if
very large.
Yeah, it was massive.
Yeah, let's see. Do you actually fight through the city first, or do you just go right into Neon?
I think there is. I think you pretty much have to fight your way to Neon.
Yeah,
that
was pretty fun. Basically, just going through the city and having a couple skirmishes every now and then.
Yeah, and I so one thing that I did do, I think the party structure that I had going into these fights, I had obviously Ray, I had Nina because gotta have a healer, and after I do think after the update, like the characters seem to be much more intuitive with their movesets, because I saw Nina kind of acting faster and healing and like much more all over the place, whereas before she did her job okay, but you know she had her issues of not quite being on the ball.
Yeah. One thing I just read today, actually, just a off-headed comment I saw on Reddit, and it explained that it was said to us in the tutorials, but that the AI controlled characters only have 5 AP, so whenever you're building out the chain combos, be wary of that.
Oh.
So like if you have somebody who has a, chain combo of 3 attacks, of course. So if you had somebody that has a 2 AP attack, 2 AP attack, 2 AP attack, they're never going to get that third attack off. And then also seeing that made me think, well, let me see on Leticia, I have an Isoa piece equipped that has a chance to regenerate 5 AP every time an enemy is destroyed. It's like, well, that's useless because she basically just ends her combo and her AP is going to regenerate.
Yeah. Which I wonder, because obviously the skill tree doesn't have anything where it increases AP, that I know of. At this point, I've gone through a lot of the skill trees.
Yeah,
but
they're mostly maxed out, almost maxed out.
So I haven't seen anything that increases AP for the characters, but that would be kind of interesting to kind of thinking about now is, if they do have like a max of 5 AP, then yeah, that would make sense of why certain moves are either slow to go off or you never see them.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a moot point with Semiomancers like Nina or Midas, just because they don't really do combos. They both do have physical attacks where you can combo them, but most of their moves are Semiomancers, attacks or spells.
Yeah, and but one thing that, so I have Raymond, I have Nina, I put Malkia back in my starting lineup, and I just want to kind of check out Marielle just to see how she played, and I really like Marielle.
Me too.
Just like rapid fire with the guns and then, like, the beam attacks.
Did you do one chain combo where it's just that like basic attack over and over?
Yeah, and then there's one where it essentially the move itself is about 3 hits. So I did kind of like a combo string of like one gunshot, and then the second move of the combo does the three burst shot thing, and then finishes it up with like the laser beam thing. So like and she was actually the first character that I really switched over to and kind of stayed playing as her, because like
it's nice to do something long distance as opposed to the melee focus of like Ray or Leticia.
Yeah, and like she's got some melee stuff, like she's got some kicks that she can do, but yeah, it was nice just having the gun to play around with. So, but I am, so there's, I don't know, I haven't looked at the skill tree for Raymond yet, but on the left and right, like the furthest points, he's got these spots that have like little locks on them, and I haven't, with his last PlayStation, I haven't gone back to look to see just what all is in those spots. I don't know if it's unlocked anything yet or not, but I'm curious as to what those are. Have you like gone in that direction with the skill trees?
Yeah,
with his
I've
skill
unlocked
tree.
both, so I wonder
Oh,
when they unlock. I will say the one on the right, I can think of that one just because I was looking at it the other day, and I don't think it's super impressive. It's nothing like, oh wow. It is like just a unique skill to him.
and so it's not like a limit break or anything. It's just
No, if I'm remembering it correctly, it was just some sort of like statistical trade-off. Like, okay, I'm gonna lose a bunch of defense and I'm gonna pour all that into attack, and then I'm gonna focus on
okay.
attacking for the next like 10 seconds. But it was something only he could do.
Because that's I think Nina has something similar to that where it's like
Yes.
she sacrifices defense, I think, but it like
Yeah, she's got all
significantly
sorts of
increases.
weird options.
But so yeah, I've got those as my starting lineup for the party. Just and again, I don't know if some people have pointed out that if I increase the difficulty, I'd have a bigger challenge with the fights. But I'm really just not having any difficulties, so I mowed through the capital. No real issues. Got a bunch of levels, got a bunch of SP, powered up the characters even more. Got to the throne room, and then that's when dealing with Nayan, who is
No, because Neon you deal with before, because he's basically right outside the castle, because the Emperor's looking out among you guys, and he's like, he's on the balcony with the two Virians.
oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
which I mean,
So,
Neon's getting his chance at revenge. He kind of spills why he did what he did. He's actually a Vale. He's from the Vale Empire, lost his family,
yeah.
and he just basically did this for revenge. But he dies. He did.
Yeah, he kind of he blames the kingdom for the rot that went through the Vale Empire, and it's kind of it's like he blames the fact that the kingdom didn't send any of their Iantromancers to help deal with the rot that was going through the Vale Empire.
Yeah, which that's the grievance we're aware of. The event that happened 14 years ago that basically split relations.
Yeah, so
I really liked Malkia commenting on the Emperor's speech, the way he was talking. I think she was the one who said, he's not talking like somebody who's backed into a corner and about to, give it all up. Like, we need to be careful here.
He's way too confident for being someone who...
And referring to them all as his children.
Yeah. That's a little worrisome that he's not concerned about the fact that we just... we've had no difficulties pushing our way to the capital, and of course Letitia is trying very hard to end the fighting. She doesn't want any more violence. She's not wanting any additional bloodshed. Of course, the Virians, they do mention the fact that, well, you are the ones who came flying in on those ships and blah blah blah.
It's like, that's like just some whataboutism. It's like we wouldn't have had to do that if it didn't get to this situation.
Yeah, like we used the Folga to go on the offensive after you guys used all of this technology to push us back. So after dealing with Nayan, dealing with the capital, we end up getting to fight the three Virians, and I think, was it before the fight or was it after I think it was before the fight. Actually, no, I think it was after the fight. It essentially didn't have any issues, but with the three of them. But I think Lola starts to have some
Yeah, she displayed some
hesitations.
reticence, and Leticia tried to appeal to that, try and get her to
And
end the fighting on behalf of the Virians and everyone, but, before anything could really come of that, the Emperor's like, well, it's my turn now.
yeah, which,
He fell in battle as well.
yep. But apparently this whole thing was, we finally,
Kind of have an info dump.
yeah, there was a lot that happened after that fight. We get to find out more about Duma and the different types of Duma that are out there.
Yeah, Scorpium. At the wedding, Duma spoke of Scorpium, those little, like headdresses, little crowns that the Virians had prepared for Leticia and Gerard. Scorpium.
Yeah,
A hive mind.
and it did kind of it. I was getting the impression with Nayan that he was possessed. Like, were you getting those vibes? Because I don't.
I guess
remember
the
his.
only thing that would give that away were his red eyes. He had not had red eyes prior to that.
So I'm wondering if there was something in regards to the Scorpium that.
No.
Okay.
I'm going to say no, because there were, during the wedding, the Virians had presented them with 2 Scorpium little headsets, let's call them, little Scorpium devices.
So, but if I remember correctly, so the way that Scorpium works, they're targeting cybernetic or artificial life and as the base, and applying organic life to it.
Yes, cybernetic base with organic enhancements, as opposed to an organic base with cybernetic enhancements, which is what everybody would anticipate, everybody would think. But yeah, I mean, the Duma, or excuse me, Scorpion being like this artificial, this blending of artificial and organic life, this hive mind, across the universe. And of course, we find out Duma is part of it. But this Duma is a special model, basically sent out to survey a planet. In this case, it was going to survey Vergold, see if they are potential candidates for integration with Scorpium.
And as it turns out, the Emperor of the Veil Empire seems to be the specimen that the Virians are going after. Which I think has kind of created this like god complex for the Emperor, because as you were referencing, he basically was calling everybody his children.
And wanting to force integrate everyone on the planet with Scorpium, regardless of whether they want it or not.
Yeah, and with. With Duma, of course, just happens to be the one that we have is the special Duma that finally explains a few things about how the Duma that we have, one of the differences between it and other Duma is the fact that it can function autonomously from the network. It is not connected to the other Duma. It is able to basically make its own decisions, its own choices based on its own judgment, which apparently the other Duma are not able to do that. They're survey models that pretty much just get information and send it back, whereas our Duma is a combat model that does not do that. And then, of course, the second, I guess, I guess the second difference is the fact that it is a combat model, which, instead of being a survey model, it can be used in fights.
And so at this point, Valange and Gaston, they turn on Lola.
Yep, And
Boldor asks Gerard to continue the unification process, look after the planet until his return. And the Varians whisk away with Boldor and are undetectable where they are.
Which, I think... Yep, Marielle gets a message back from her ship saying that another ship is in the vicinity. It's about
36 hours away.
Yeah. And turns out to be Antonio Lawrence.
Well,
right?
So she gets the communication that there's an unknown ship heading for Astor 4, ETA of 36 hours, and then also a Vergoldian merchant ship of 48 hours away. And then, Ray says, hey, well, I know that's Antonio. So he had Marielle's team patch him through, and he communicated with Antonio. Kind of gave him a heads up what to expect.
And instead of explaining anything right then, it's like, hey, Antonio, do these things, and bye. Whereas Antonio's like, what are you talking about? Why are you using a Federation frequency? What is going on?
Plenty of time for that later.
Yeah, that's let's see.
And then that basically catches us up to where you are in the story.
Yeah, because essentially it was kind of at that point where Ray makes mention of the fact that probably not going to be coming back to Astor 4. So if there's any loose ends, need to tie them up now. But then, as I think you were saying before we started recording, don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, because I went through the same thing. I made a specific note that, okay, Ray says it's time to tidy up business on Astor 4. And so, like I told you earlier, it's like, okay, well, I'm looking at my side quests, and it's showing like 40% completion, but I only have like 4 left. It's like, that can't be right. So I looked it up, and there are plenty of time, there are plenty of opportunities for us to come back, barring actually entering and remaining in the final dungeon. We can go anywhere, anytime. There are some story exclusions, but then it opens up, kind of like how Baldar we couldn't travel back to for a while.
So, but yeah, that gets us caught up on the Star Ocean Divine Force story session. I know for a couple weeks now, Star Ocean has obviously it has taken up a good portion of our talking time. But I remember about a week or two ago, you finally wrapped up E's Memories of Celceta.
Yes. Yeah, I beat E's Memories of Celceta. I'm not going to go back and look to see when, but it was, a couple weeks ago. That game is great. I'd say you need to play that. Kind of took that amnesia storyline, and instead of being just something really a drab effort, it was actually really astounding what they did with it. And then looking at my last notes I wanted to include on it, one thing was kind of spoiling a little bit of it, but not quite, kind of where the game spins everything on its head like halfway through, basically saying, well, there is this God, this living God, who basically doles out inventions and all the creations that humanity comes up with. He's actually he actually knows what they are ahead of time. He basically just inserts them into someone's head or invites them up, say, hey, come check out, bring this person to me. I'm going to tell them how to create X, Y, or Z. That is actually a real life concept, that there are these Akashic records. I was just looking it up to confirm the spelling of it for my notes, and then discovered, this is a real life concept, where there is a supposed compendium, in some sort of dream world, or, depending on your viewpoint, wherever it is, that there's this compendium of everything that has, does, or ever will occur everywhere. And so there are some beliefs, and this is really fringe beliefs. There's like a Wikipedia page on it. There's entries on it from a couple different people in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, that, core to, let me see what I said. I said core to some pseudoscientific Western philosophies and religions. But there's this belief that from some of these, I think that this is a dream world where you can access and you can go view these Akashic records to view everything that has or ever will be. But it was just such a unique inspiration for a game. Just going along with like such a cool story, like just a unique game, just a unique inspiration.
Well, and it is nice to see a game do something different with just the kind of tried and true tropes. Like you mentioned the amnesia, and just how it wasn't just a generic, like, oh, the main character has amnesia, and then it just kind of plays out.
Yeah. I mean, there's gameplay reason for it. Of course, because it's like, okay, well, you got to learn all these abilities that because you're the famous adventure Adel Christian. How come you don't have your weapons, or how come you don't know all these abilities? So there's kind of a Metroid style gameplay reason for it, but then there's also the story reason. You're going all exploring the forest, and being places reminds you of things from your past and things from your recent past. So you have actually memories to collect. Hence the title, like Ys Memories of Celceta.
So that clears that cleared one game off of your RPG smorgasbord of games over the last.
And I can focus on Star Ocean and Pokemon.
Which, as we know with you, Pokemon is definitely going to be an evergreen title for you, just a constant.
And so that being the case, I still have not put a ton of time into it. It's something where it's just I want to focus more on just getting Star Ocean done, because I know it's like, okay, I want to get Ys done so I can get Star Ocean done, so I can get to Pokemon. It's like I'm kind of focusing still on Star Ocean. I did play an hour or two of Pokemon this weekend, and I'm still so early in that game. I've played it like 10 hours, but I only have a gym badge. I just defeated the first one of 5 Titan Pokemon, I think there are. I have not even gone to the extent of looking at all the new Pokemon designs, just because it's so much fun for me to be surprised, or like see my spouse play and then see she gets a new Pokemon and it's like, oh, what is that? Like, so there's still, even though I could just go on Cerebi and look at all the new designs and just get that out of the way, it's this just such a fun childlike sense of discovery of being like, okay, there's something different out there I can see over in the open world. Let me go run over to that and battle it. What type is that? What's its name?
Well, and it's kind of, my journey with Pokemon has been on and off for a good amount of time, playing through the first 3 or 4 generations, and then just kind of playing a little bit here and there, but I still remember, like, especially with generations 1 and 2, just that kind of, well, like how you put it, the childlike experience of like being on an adventure, getting to a new area, and then going through the grass, and a brand new Pokemon appears. It's like, oh, that's so cool that no matter where I was at in generations 1 through I'd say 3, 4 I played a little bit of. I think mostly it was like Platinum that I played, but yeah, like just that sense of adventure, and that the joy of finding something new, and just that it's like, oh, what is this, or even if it's like a variation of the same Pokemon, like I remember that it's a butterfly Pokemon,
Vivalion.
Starts with just the 4 different types of.
Oh no, there's like a dozen plus.
Oh, okay. Well,
see, now that's one where just, I don't know, earlier this year maybe it was, through Pokemon Home, I was going through and just doing home trades, looking for the forms that I didn't have, and eventually, I've got them all except for like I think there's 1 or 2 forms. Like, one is a Pokeball form that was only given away through distributions, so you basically can't get that anymore. And I think there's maybe like one actual regional form that is really hard to come across. But, I spent like a week or two just like every day, like, let me pop this on, see if, the Pokemon I offer for trade, if anyone picked those up. And occasionally there'd just be bots who gave me like a shiny version, a shiny perfect version. That in itself is cool. But eventually be like, okay, well, I've got all the Valiant forms.
So yeah, just like, just that shadowy figure that just kind of like slides across the screen, and then it appears. It's like, oh, this is a really cool looking Pokemon.
Yeah, one that not blew me away, but one that was just like kind of check off the list of, okay, well, there are some real life animals who don't have like a Pokemon counterpart. One that I was excited to see with these games is like a flamingo. Okay, there's a flamingo Pokemon now. There's a dolphin Pokemon now.
They didn't have Pokemon versions of those yet.
I mean, think about it. Can you think of a flamingo Pokemon?
I mean, now that I'm
not
thinking
that you're
about
the best
it,
person
no.
to ask about it, but
like,
self-proclaimed. I've only played through like 1 through 4.
Yeah, that's because I guess not really. I feel
there's
like
an earthworm Pokemon.
Well, I mean, okay, I guess that's. I guess.
There's a grasshopper Pokemon, a cricket, I think.
Well, I mean, there's like a praying mantis. I mean, there's Scyther and like, so I guess not specifically a.
Yeah, I mean, you just
cricket.
listed 2 different things: praying mantis and grasshopper. Those are 2 separate things, there, bud.
Yeah, I mean, there's Cricketune.
Yeah, correct. Cricketune, Cricketot.
So
you gotta admit though, they suck.
Yeah, they're not.
No, they're fine.
I mean, and you I mean, you're like the bug Pokemon aficionado. Like that's your.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite type.
Your bread and butter of the Pokemon world. But of the time that you've played so far, like, do you have a favorite of like the new Pokemon? I mean, outside of like starters and stuff.
Kind of surprisingly, I was not a big fan of Wiglet. Wiglet is kind of like it's not even, I don't even think it's a regional form of Diglett. It's just like an alternate evolution, which kind of has a basis in like actual real life scientific studies of animals, real life scientific thoughts on how animals evolve in different areas. But I just thought Wiglet looked kind of dumb early on. But I've actually been using him in my party. I've made it a goal to just use nothing but new Pokemon in my party. And just because he's fast and he's a water type, he's my water type I'm using, kind of like him. Like, I like that he's speedy. So he's gotten a lot of use. Charcadet, the base form of the super cool Ceruledge and Armarouge. Of course, Ceruledge looks like one of the coolest Pokemon, so I'm really can't wait to get him. But Charcadet, his base form's pretty cool. Pawmi and Pawmo, and I forget their third evolution. It's kind of it's like an electric mouse looking thing. It's electric fighting, I believe. I've been using those. I think they're kind of lame. They're okay. They're just kind of like a little doughboy mice.
So now is there like a gym system and
yes,
like Elite Four in Scarlet and Moon?
Yeah, there is actually Elite Four in this region.
Okay, because I wasn't, because from what I've been hearing, it's much more, I guess, open.
Yeah. I mean, you can, after first hour of basically, like, okay, you're new in this area, let's go to the academy, let's do some like education stuff on what's going down in this region, Paldea, what we want you to do. At some point, within that first hour, I think they just basically throw open the gates and just say, okay, go do whatever you want to do. And so I've been still sticking to it kind of traditionally, just by looking at the map and saying, okay, I'm in like the South Province area. Like I've explored the South Province areas 1 and 2. So let me go ahead and just go over to 3. But I think with little exception, there's nothing stopping you from just like going, well, let me go all the way to this farthest province with like theoretically the strongest Pokemon and just get my ass handed to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you come across any of the like Final Fantasy 12 stepping out of Rabanastre and coming across this giant T-Rex thing, and it's like, oh, it's early in the game, I must be able to take you on, and then find out, nope, I cannot. That was a mistake.
Yeah, no, and just because like I said, kind of been purposefully following maybe like the ideal path thus far.
That's I don't know. I've the more that I hear about Scarlet and Violet, it does kind of seem like it would be, because I played Sword. I played through all of it. Didn't do any of the expansion passes or anything like that, but got through the core game. But I just didn't really have much drive or want to play it after finishing. But the more that I hear about Scarlet and Violet, it does kind of sound like it's more...
I mean, it's different. So yeah, I mean, Sword and Shield, I put 700 plus hours into those games, so of course,
God,
I'm the expert on them.
Yeah.
Those games did not have a ton of post-game content in comparison to, a lot of previous games in the series. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of stuff you can do, but it's more that you have to find it. You have to do it yourself. Now, I will say, kind of the post-game content for those was the 2 DLC packs, the Crown Tundra and the Isle of Armor, and those were both really awesome. Like, those are both some of the funnest stuff in Pokemon. And of course, with Arceus, Arceus brought an quasi-open world format, kind of done away with the traditional battling and traditionally catchling. That's the one thing I really miss in Scarlet and Violet, just since there is that open world environment where you're wandering with all these Pokemon. I wish that I could just throw a Pokeball at the weak ones and just like try my odds at catching them without battling them. But Scarlet and Violet, if you played Arceus a fair amount, you haven't beat that if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I've probably put... I want to say it's been a long time since I booted it up, but
so I mean,
Arceus, about 20 hours or so.
Yeah, Arceus is awesome. That's one where I've been meaning to go back. I beat that. have not completed all the post game content there, and catching shinies in that is fairly easy in comparison to the other core games in the series. So I've been meaning to go back and just have not. But in terms of gameplay, Scarlet and Violet is pretty close to that, and kind of like just a straight up fusion, I guess, of that more modern style core entry and just the more traditional core entries with the battling and whatnot. So Scarlet Violet is a good game to pick up to just check it out, and especially with all the new Pokemon, like a new Pokedex, it's probably maybe a little more entertaining for you, just because it is for me, that same sort of thing of just wandering through this open world and seeing these new Pokemon being like, oh, what's that? Having not looked them all up ahead of time.
And with the fact that they're closing in on 1,000 Pokemon, like there's...
No, it's past 1,000.
Oh, it is past 1,000 now?
Yes, with Scarlet and Violet, they crossed the 4-digit marker.
Whew. Well, I'm curious to see what they did with number 1,000. Because
do you remember the string cheese mascot?
The string cheese mascot?
Yeah, you remember there's like a brand of string cheese, and it was like a string cheese guy, and he had like, his hair was like string cheese, almost like dreads. You remember that from like the 90s or 2000s?
Kind of.
That's the 1,000th Pokemon.
I was kind of hoping for something a little more... pizzazz.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! You haven't seen this guy. You don't know if he's lacks pizzazz or not.
Well, I mean, if he looks like string cheese, I don't know.
What, okay, okay. How about this? How about snowboarding string cheese?
Huh.
How about okay,
Well,
okay? How about this? How about this? 24 karat gold.
he's made of gold, like so. It's like
Well, I don't
it's
know.
like cheddar cheese.
I have not actually caught him yet.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
But how about this? 24 karat gold snowboarding string cheese mascot from the 90s 2000s.
yeah. Well, yeah. That's. I mean, that. I guess they had to do something, and I guess I mean, I how far how I guess what I was thinking, like, number 1000 would be like a legendary or a mythical Pokemon or something that uh not.
How do you know he's not? I
I
don't
mean,
know.
true.
I have not caught
True.
him. I don't know.
He that might be the Pokemon that you need to use your Master Ball for. You don't want to let him get away. Uh, but yeah, I think I don't know. It's not going to be anytime soon, but I have been kind of getting the vibe of, maybe I need to check out Scarlet and Violet, because it does seem like it's. I mean, outside of all the bugs and glitches and stuff that the game started out with.
Now, has it been the shiny odds? Seeing everybody post about their shinies now?
Not really. Just like I enjoyed Arceus. I felt like there was kind of more that they could have done with Arceus, but I enjoyed it. I liked the open world. I like being able to, kind of like what you were talking about, just run around and throw Pokeballs at things or throw food to kind of allure or trap Pokemon. Like, it was much more. It's like they took Pokemon Snap and they took a open world game, or they took Pokemon and they were just like, hey, here's what people really want to do with Pokemon, like the free roaming and catching things. But I still feel like they could have done more with it. And it seems like, with Scarlet and Violet, they're figuring out how to get that into the core games. Because I think the wild area in Sword and Shield was a good kind of starting point for that, and then Arceus kind of took it a step further, and then with Violet and Scarlet, it's like they're figuring out where they're.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically that wild area, and then in the DLC that you didn't play, it did get expanded even further in that. But Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, just full on open world different.
Yeah, and I like the idea of a full featured open world Pokemon game. Just getting on a bike and just roaming and just kind of developing your journey as you see fit. And that's how the game is spun. Basically it is kind of a choose your destiny, choose your own adventure. Now, it's like, okay, do you want to take on the gym challenge and go to the Elite Four? Or do you want to help this guy find these Titan Pokemons and like work on recipes? At the end of the day, you'll do everything. You'll do both, but it does spin it up in just open fashion. Like, hey, do whatever you want. It's not going to be something where, kind of is. Because there are gyms. Your Pokemon eventually would stop listening to you past a certain level. So at some point you will be incentivized to go, at least get all the gym badges. But it's not like, okay, well, I can't progress any further here because there's a Snorlax in a road and I need to find an item and I don't see the item this way, so now I got to go up this path. So with where we're at, you were saying with Star Ocean, you were kind of seeing, as far as the achievements go, it kind of looks like there's 2 or 3 more achievements with the story.
Yeah, because sometimes they'll have that final, like, hey, you beat the game achievement unlock with the final story achievement, and sometimes that you beat the game achievement is a separate story related thing. So I have 2 to 3 achievements left. I think you have 4 to 5 left.
So with that, I don't foresee us necessarily beating the story of Star Ocean this week.
Oh, I may.
But okay, very very confident.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of like what my spouse ask. Just because I beat the game doesn't mean I'm done with the game. So I mean, I may beat the game this week, but I'll then go do some cleanup on some of these achievements.
And just whatever other side quests and stuff that are doable. But with that, if by some chance you do actually finish the story of Star Ocean, the Divine Force, are you just going to direct all of your attention to Pokemon, or is there something else that you were kind of thinking of possibly picking up in the meantime if you do actually finish the story of Star Ocean? Or
yeah, I mean, I'll probably just pour it all into Pokemon at that point. Dabble with Vampire Saviors and some other stuff.
Which that's with the old vampires. I've now gotten to the point I've unlocked a lot of characters. I've got a lot of weapons, and I think I shared with you, like, there was one point where I could just kind of stand in one spot. Enemies were rushing at me. I didn't have to worry about anything. It was a nice change of pace with that game. Obviously, until the Grim Reaper appears, which, do you know if it's possible for us to beat him?
I imagine at some point you do, probably like the final level. It's like, okay, you have like overcome all the obstacles. You are now super strong. Because as he is now, he basically is you beat this level.
It's over.
I have one time I had the shield going where it kept me alive for like a minute or two while he was trying to kill me. But I was not able to beat him in that time.
Yeah, and like I've been able to revive a couple of times and just keep wailing on him, but still not able to do enough damage where it's like, all right, I took you out. But it's such a simple game, so addictive, so much fun. I definitely, as the stage progresses, like especially once you get around like that 20-minute mark, I really start kind of getting into the Geometry Wars vibe. Just like running around trying to get like the last couple of upgrades or whatever, like still taking damage but not necessarily in too bad of a shape. But like you've played Geometry Wars, so like that adrenaline pumping, just like trying to survive as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, I don't get the same vibes. Just because in Geometry Wars, it was anything could kill me, and it doesn't take a lot to kill me, and then I can't get that run started again. Whereas with this, it doesn't feel like there's any stakes by that 20-minute mark because everything's so well upgraded that you just become a walking death machine.
Well, I guess, but. Let's see. I've gone through. There's all sorts of stuff that I've unlocked at this point. The secrets, the codes, like figuring out the little. Not quite. They're not riddles or anything. Well, I guess they're kind of like riddles. But essentially, it's like a sentence that references something in one of the stages with one of the characters, and that if you do this specific thing, it unlocks a character. So I've gone through and unlocked a good portion of characters that way, and just new stages, and but just a really fun game. But one thing that I picked up yesterday, it was yesterday. Got Ghost of Tsushima, the director's cut for the PS4 for $19 at GameStop, or $16 at GameStop because of the $5 coupon thing.
Nice.
So I've been wanting to play that game, so I think once... Well, I guess putting priorities in line, we did talk about playing Star Ocean 5 after we finish the Divine Force.
But I mean, it doesn't have to be like immediately after.
So I do think I'm gonna squeeze Ghost of Tsushima into the playtime, because I've always wanted to play it. I haven't actually purchased it, and then I saw it on sale at GameStop for $19, and I was like, okay, well, this sounds like a really good time. And then that $5 coupon, I was like, okay, I might as well jump in now. So I think obviously still going to focus on Star Ocean: The Divine Force. It seems like you're closing in on the end of the story, not quite the end of the play session with it, but it seems like we have about one-ish, maybe two episodes left where we focus on the story of Star Ocean.
I'd say maybe a couple more, unless you just start hammering through it too.
Well, yeah, I guess that is very true. It really depends on how that goes. But if I do get more sessions like I did yesterday, where I can sink a few hours into it, that'll definitely help. But I gotta say, I am kind of wanting, like, I don't know if you're in the same boat, but I am kind of getting the want to play something else, like. The Divine Force, it's good. It's a solid game. It's not a great game, but I have kind of reached a point where I'm like, I kind of want to wrap this game up and play something else. Well, I don't know if you're in that same
weird feeling to have whenever you spent like 5 hours doing optional stuff yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that was kind of... I guess some of it did get a little... with you saying that I don't have to necessarily stress about getting everything done before leaving the planet. That helps a little bit, because it was... Like, I was doing a lot of tedious things, especially with, like, the Welch side quests. Like... You go turn something in, and she's like, oh, I'll be in touch. It's like, okay, I'm going to step out this door, and you're going to tell me to go right back in. So, and sure enough, you turn in what she needs, you step out of her shop, she calls you and like, hey, I need you to get back here, sprint mode. It's like, okay, well, just... Can you just give me all of the side quests? Because this is just how you're going to be doing this. So it was definitely a lot of tediousness that of what I was dealing with the game yesterday. But I am looking forward to being introduced more to some of the other characters, like Antonio.
Yep. Yeah, just keep pushing the story forward.
Yeah.
Stuff's changing.
For the most part, we have, with episode 23 right around the corner. Oh, wait. Yeah. Episode 23 right around the corner. Looking forward to hopefully seeing where we're at with Star Ocean. So, we will be back next week. I am Jeff from Just One More Level.
This is John from MyBrunningGames.com.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.